Yes, Bob Fitzgerald, the voice of the Golden State Warriors. We'll kind of be into this one a little bit. Hey, Fitz, it's 44 years since the Miracle on Ice. I'm not trying to date you. I don't want to ask how old you were. But, there's been some negativity after this All-Star game on Sunday. And I was thinking, you got an event or two in your life, whether you were a kid or an announcer, where it's just one of the most memorable sporting events you watched. It's so memorable. You remember where you were. You know details about it. Let's start there.
Well, I mean, you're asking two good questions. I remember I was in my parents' kitchen watching The Miracle on Ice on a black and white TV.
Wow.
So I remember everything about that. I think the coolest thing that, it was in the movie Miracle, but I don't think people really know, because I love like pregame speeches and halftime speeches in sports, and a lot of different coaches that have given them, and they beat the Russians, but that was not for the gold medal.
Yep.
So they go to play Finland for the gold medal, and Herb Brooks had already done the famous Russia speech. Like, if we played them 10 times, they would beat us 9, but not tonight. Tonight we're the best team in the world. Tonight we do this. Tonight. So he had that incredible speech, and they go beat the Russians. For Finland, he had no idea what he was going to say for the gold medal game. And so he basically said, and, obviously it's a family show, so I will not swear, but he said, "Hey, guys, if you lose this game, you'll take it to your effing graves." Yep. And that's all he said. So, no, I love that team. I mean, you had Micah Ruzioni and Jim Craig, and, I mean, that's, oh, God, I love that team. So as a kid, definitely remember that. I remember my 9th birthday was Bulls-Warriors Game 7 of the Western Finals in 1975, and the Warriors win that and go on to beat Washington for their championship. And so that was a cool Game 7. I still remember everything about Chet Walker and Bob Love and Sloan and Van Leer and Boerwinkle, and and then you had Rick Barry.
That's right. They were in the West. They were in the West then, right?
Oh God, I love that whole series and Bill King calling it and everything. So, as a kid, I remember all those kind of things. As a broadcaster, I got 31 years in the NBA and 20-something NFL and the whole bit. But I would say Kobe and Antoine's 51 points each in an overtime win in 2000 for the, Clay's 37-point quarter, Clay's 60 points in 3 quarters.
Well, we can't go through. We can't go through all the Warriors. We can't go through all the Warriors ones in the last 10 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I threw "We Believe" out there. That's one everybody remembers fondly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's "We Believe." I will tell people, like, the parade to me is still the biggest. Like, you talk for a living, and all of a sudden you're going to MC this parade, and you walk out and here's 1.5 million people at Lake Merritt. I don't care how much you speak for a living. Like that, I was the first person out there to start it up, and it was like the jolt of holy. That even for me, I never write anything down, so it's like, whoa, I better be tap dancing, on the script here pretty well. So, no, all that stuff is great, but I think that's why we love sports, is that it's unscripted, and anytime you go to a building, you never know what's going to happen, and so I think those are the super fun things. I like all the little things, like, Steph had all those streaks where he was making a 3 in so many consecutive games, and, he went 0 for 10 in L.A., and that ended a streak of 200 and something and the whole bit. And, I said with Jim going off the air, you went 0 for 10 tonight. Wouldn't surprise me tomorrow night if he broke the NBA record. And we flew home back-to-back, and he made 13 and set the new NBA record.
Oh, I don't even remember that detail. That was on the heels of an 0 for 10. Wow.
Yeah, he went 0 for 10, and then the very next night made 13.
Fitz, I don't want to tell you about my whole life, but my son, younger Daryl Johnson, is a team manager at Santa Clara. So last year I got to see them play about 10 games, and I got to see pods. But Fitz, I never once said he couldn't play in the league. I just never thought he'd be down Highway 101 helping the Warriors. Can you walk us through just where you're at and how shocked are you in the fact that I watch other players try to go at him or think, you know what, I can take them and they can't. And we got a chance to talk to him, Fitz, and I said, like I asked every athlete, who was your guy growing up? And Fitz, he said Ginobili, and I see that. It is just a pleasure to watch, man.
Yeah, I think the thing is, Guru, what I love about Pajemski and really Chase Jackson Davis is that when you had drafts in the past, like Larry Riley had clued me in that he really loved Steph Curry all during the year before they drafted him. And so Larry's like, hey, if we get number one, we'll take Blake Griffin. But if we get number two or anything else, we're taking Steph Curry. And I'm like, what? So I started watching Steph Curry a lot. So when we got him, I was like, yeah, this is kind of fun. So it's the same thing with Trace and Pajemski. As I had talked to Mike Dunleavy and Kent and a lot of people in our scouts, kind of like, hey, who's the best, like, true, just old school big guy that's in college hoops? And I said, watch the Indiana kid. So I watched a bunch of Trace Jackson Davis, and when they got him, 57th, I'm, oh my God, I love this guy. Like, this is great. But with Pajemski, it was, Mike and Kent, I think they've talked about it, where they went down to Santa Clara to watch another guy, and Pajemski kind of jumped off, the building. And so then you start watching him. They're like, hey, watch that Santa Clara kid. Keep an eye on it. So I probably watched him maybe 8, 9 times. And the one thing that stuck out to me was guards don't rebound like that in college. And if you rebound in college, you will always rebound in the pros. It's the one translatable skill that always works no matter what position you play. So I was like, oh, this guy can rebound. And then it was like, you know what? He's craftier than you think, and he'll make a shot, and he's got a big set of onions as far as stepping in front of people and the contact and the physicality. So he's just gotten better and better and better, and his confidence is just, beyond any rookie should have. But I think he's going to be on the all-rookie team. So if you're taking 19th and you're one of the top 5 rookies, I mean, that says a lot about you.
Bob Fitzgerald joining us on 95.7 The Game. He's the voice of the Golden State Warriors. Let me ask you this, Bob, because I'm looking at the Warriors now. They're 27 and 26. They're in 10th. They're playing better. There's no doubt about it. But when you win 4 titles in however many years they've won, you just tend to think of the team as, well, it's about titles or nothing. Hey, win a title, it's successful, anything. But I'm looking at this team, and I'm like, well, they're not, is there something in between that's acceptable for this team? Now, I don't want to say acceptable in terms.
You bring up an age-old thing. You guys could do a whole, show on it. I don't buy it's titles or else in sports. My favorite year is the Warriors' 73-9 year, and they didn't win the title, but they went 88 and 18. They were unreal for over 6 months, and the level of enjoyment to win 24 in a row, to have only 2 losses at home, to go to the final minute of Game 7. That was some of the most excellent basketball I saw, and still no Warrior team has ever gone 88 and 18.
Right.
Ever. So to me, it wasn't a championship. I grant that. But my counter to that is always, remember the Seahawks team that won the division with a losing record? With Marshawn Lynch and all them, and then they played New Orleans, and Marshawn had the big famous run and all that. If that Seahawks team that was a losing record in the regular season went and won the Super Bowl, would that have been some great year? Like, is that what life is all about? Like, just, well, we won the title, but you're whatever, 6 and 10,
right?
7 and 9. Like, you were garbage for the whole year. Like, I just don't buy that. I don't. So to me, the season is so long, and every year has its own kind of, rhythm to it. And I like great stuff over a prolonged period of time. So it's one of those, like, if you play golf, man, if you have like 16 great holes and you blow up on 17 and 18, it's not like you had a bad round. You had an incredible round. You just finished bad.
Right.
So, I love winning the championship. Believe me, I love it. But 73 and 9? Are you kidding? 73 and 9? Like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
And then it wasn't like they dipped out in the first round and fell apart. It took a LeBron block and a Kyrie 3 to beat them at the end of Game 7. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's why I love Frazier and Ali. Frazier won it one and Ali won, but those fights were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to be Larry Holmes or do you want to be Muhammad Ali?
Right.
Larry Holmes was undefeated. And who'd he ever beat? Who'd he ever fight? He was champion. Oh, I'm champion. But based on what?
Terry Cooney. Yeah.
But if you're Ali, you didn't win all the time. but you're still talked about now. You still matter. So, yeah, I don't know where society morphed into this whole, if you don't win the title. The best baseball team ever doesn't have the World Series title. The best football NFL record, Patriots, don't have the Super Bowl title. The best hockey team, the Detroit Red Wings, best season, don't have the Stanley Cup. And the best Warrior team ever, 73-9, best NBA, doesn't have the championship.
But Fitz, doesn't that make it, from a fan, short for fanatic, the great Pete Franklin, I hear you, but doesn't that make it worse? Like the heartbreak is more because you say, and everybody knew that your team was the best, and you kind of didn't hoist up the trophy at the end.
Yeah, but then, it's the same thing we're going through with the Niners in the Super Bowl. The Niners and Chiefs played, okay, and they played into overtime. But the teams that stink are the 30 other ones, not the Niners and the Chiefs. You want to be the Atlanta Falcons or the Bears? Or are you kidding me? No, I don't get. It's like they have that thing on Netflix now, the Four Falls in Buffalo.
Yep.
Buffalo rallied up to get to Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. They didn't win it, but God, was that an incredible success and an incredible team to gather up and get back to the dance every single time like that. Would you want to be the second richest person in the world? I would.
Yeah, I no, that's a great one. That's a great one, Bob. Hey,
it's like, Warren Buffett has more than me, but I've got $48 billion. I think I'll be fine. So, yeah, we got to get from a sports thing. You need to enjoy each game, then you need to enjoy each month and enjoy each season, and take for it what you can take for it. But this whole my team don't win the title, screw that. Like in college football, there's 120 teams. So maybe your team goes 11-1 and they made the playoffs or they won the Rose Bowl or this or that, but there's only going to be one champion. If you're living your whole life like I've got to win the championship or else, but your life's going to be a huge disappointment.
Wow, Fitz.
That's the way I look at it.
And all I'm thinking about, too, you said some profound stuff, is I got to check out that Buffalo doc, because as much as I say they didn't win it, they got to 4 bowls. Come on. So I'm going to check that out. Hey, I've missed you, but I'm glad I didn't talk to you after the Raptor home game here and the Pelican game. Bob, I needed therapy, and now all of a sudden, Kuminga's emergence, they're getting easy buckets, pods, everybody's making contributions, but the bouquet of flowers go to Draymond Green. I've been passionate about his stuff off the court, and I'm nobody to judge, Bob, but he reminded me and everybody his impact on this team. Stephen Curry's shots, or the quality of shots have changed. I've just been mesmerized by Dre, and I'm telling Steiny at every turn, I apologize. And Bob, nobody knows what's around the corner, but I'm excited, and I think they got some action, and it all changed when Dre came back.
They went from the worst defensive team in the league to a top 5 defensive team with the insertion of one dude. That's kind of remarkable. And now Chris Paul being out too hurts defensively because Chris is so good. But, they still have ways to go, particularly in fourth quarters. They're not a good fourth quarter defensive team right now. But with Draymond, it unlocked Kuminga. It got Wiggins back to himself. Steph is Steph, but he's even better with Draymond. And defensively, he just does so many things. And you guys know the game at such a high level. It's not just who Draymond's guarding, but it's all the other mistakes that he covers up and the things that he blows up for the other team when they're trying to run sets because he's such a genius and already knows what kind of play they're trying to get into. So, I think, Matt, you ask a great question, if it's not title, where do you fit in? I want them to be in the postseason and get to a 7-game series where, okay, hey, here are the Warriors. They finish, in the 7-8, and they win the play-in, and so now they're the 7th seed, and they catch OKC in round 1, right? Mm-hmm. And they go to OKC, and they win game 1. And now the Thunder go, oh, crap, we got a 7-gamer against the Warriors? Because the thing I'll say is they have 2 games against the Thunder where if they would have fouled up 3, they win both those games.
True.
They've played Minnesota head up. They've played Denver. It took Jokic to hit a 40-footer. Where have the Warriors been outclassed by the elite teams? Minnesota, Clippers, OKC, Denver, they have way better records than the Warriors. But in the games against those teams, those games weren't competitive? The Warriors looked like they didn't belong on the court against them? I don't think so.
Fitz, Yeah, Fitz, I think the second half of the season is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and I don't think anybody really, really knows where it's headed, and that's kind of the way I like it.
Yeah, and I think, too, is like you look at the math at 27 and 26, like if you finished 18 and 11, which would be a nice closing run, particularly with the road games they have, that's 45 wins. This year, 45 wins, that's probably 8.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the way the West is right now. I mean, that's probably 8 or 9. So these games like tonight against the Lakers, and when you're playing, you know, that last game against the Pelicans will be for a tiebreaker. You got 3 games left against Dallas. Like, these are all just monster games. So
can't wait.
You know, I like it. I like where the league is at in terms of the talent level in the West, the competitiveness, but I still, you know, and maybe it's the last days of Ali or the last days of Joe Frazier, whatever. You give the Warriors a 7-game series where they can just sit and focus on just you, and you've got Steph, and you've got Draymond, and you've got Klay Thompson, and you've got Pajemski and Kuminga and Chris Paul. You know, you're bringing Šarić off the bench and Moody, and those like that. You want the Warriors? Like, that's who you want? Like, because Minnesota and OKC and the Clippers have some long, vast playoff history I'm unaware of. Like, okay. You know, like,
bring it on.
I want no part of the Clippers or Lakers, by the way, because I don't like playing every game where you shoot 25 fewer free throws than the other team.
That's a damn stat. Hey, Fitz, you know what? You got me, just everything you said, you got me thinking, and I'll get you out of here on this one because you brought up the Super Bowl. Hey, I love Patrick Mahomes just as much as the next guy. But, Fitz, I'm telling Niner fans, and I've watched the game 3 or 4 times, get a life, Goo, but I have. And they won the game. They earned it. But if I'm a Niner fan, and I've told the fans, that game, they could have won the game, Fitz. I know Mahomes is great, but the Niners played well enough to win that game. You say what to that?
Well, here's the one thing I'm going to say, and unfortunately it's in Niner history, and it hurts twice. When you have a lead late in a football game, like, I don't know, maybe you're up 10-6 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. For the love of God, do not put anyone back to field a punt. I don't get it. Kyle Williams, now, you know, with Ray and the ball bouncing off a looter, if they punt the ball to you and nobody is back and it bounces 10 yards, so what? You get the ball. That game was decided because the free touchdown for Kansas City came off a muffed punt.
Damn. Yeah.
Stop putting people back to return punts when you have the lead.
I'll tell you what,
I thought of it.
Stop putting people back there to field punts, and can we foul all the time up, you know, when we're up 3?
And think about this. Think of Michigan, Alabama. That Michigan kid nearly fumbled the ball at his own 5-yard line.
Yeah. Wow,
Alabama would have recovered at the 1. Yeah. That kid would have been Steve Bartman. His life would have never been the same. Like, stop putting punt returners back when you have a lead in the second half in a football game. Stop it.
Wow. I'm glad I asked you. Yeah, I'm glad I asked.
The ball could bounce backwards 10 yards or forward 10 yards. 10 yards is not worth losing possession of the ball. Wow. We've got to stop this. It's like bunting in baseball. This strategy doesn't work. The disaster element is too big.
Wow. The disaster element, I love it.
They're going to talk about Purdy and Shanahan and the defense and overtime. The fumbled punt was the whole game. It gave Kansas City a free touchdown.
Wow.
All right, Fitz.
Take it easy, baby.
Save some up for the second part of the season, buddy.
I'm ready. Hey, I'm just getting started. I'm going to go rewatch the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Guru said.
Yeah, there you go,
man.
Fitz.
Bob, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. That's Bob Fitzgerald, TV voice of the Golden State Warriors.
Little concept there, maybe, huh?